Welcome to this Wood Solutions Campus presentation on Forest and Chain of Custody certification. This presentation covers how Chain of Custody certification works in the marketplace. Environmental concerns about wood products exist and most generally focus on the quality of forestry practice, particularly the impact of this practice on vulnerable forests and ecosystems. Certification can assure customers that forests are managed to an agreed and acceptable standard and that the forests are legally harvested and sustainably managed. This is forest certification. It can also assure the customers that the supplied timber comes from these acceptably managed forests. This is Chain of Custody certification. Forest and Chain of Custody certification schemes are not quality control processes. They have nothing to do with the product quality or the product's ability to perform satisfactorily in any application. They just provide the assurance that the timber is from legally and sustainably managed forests. Forest and Chain of Custody certification schemes are voluntary market-based systems for the forest grower and timber producer and for the building designer, developer or owner. There are no national regulations requiring these forms of certification. However, environmental groups recommended and green building guidelines, like the Green Building Council Green Star program, require it for points.
So when using a timber as a builder, you need to use certified timber, whether it's for the deck, whether it's for walls, whether it's for joists, whether it's for beams. That timber needs to be certified. There are at least two certification schemes that we talk about within Australia: the Australian Forestry Standard, AFS, or the Forestry Stewardship Scheme, FSC. Very important to have some form of certificate to say where that timber has come from and how the timber has been produced and processed in a chain of custody. Essentially that means that the timber has come from a site that you know has been managed successfully and for various values, and from that site it's been through a chain of custody through to you as the consumer, the user of the timber. And what you need to do is make sure that you ask for certain certification numbers that you can then go and check on a database which will tell you where it's come from, the type of timber, and you can do a bit of a verification that somebody's not lying to you and that is real, genuine timber from wherever they said it was from.
Two major forestry and Chain of Custody certification schemes exist internationally and operate in Australia. The first is Forest Stewardship Council or FSC certification. This operates internationally and in Australia. A wide range of products have Forest and Chain of Custody certification through FSC, and they display the FSC logo. The logo should be accompanied with a certificate code. This can be used to trace the company's record of certification. The other scheme is the Program for the Endorsement of Forest Certification or PEFC scheme. PEFC operates differentially to FSC. PEFC provides endorsement of national standards, schemes and mechanisms for mutual recognition between them. Mutual recognition means that the product labelled through a PEFC endorsed scheme operating in Canada or China is recognised as being equivalent to products labelled with the endorsed Australian scheme. Companies that comply to an endorsed national scheme can display the PEFC logo or the logo of their national scheme. For Australian product, producers can use the PEFC logo, the Australian Forestry Standard or AFS logo, or both. Products imported into Australia usually feature the PEFC logo with or without their national scheme logo. This piece of imported LVL features two certification logos. The one in the middle is the PEFC logo. The one on the right is the logo for Sustainable Forestry Initiative or SFI Chain of Custody. SFI is a large forest certification scheme operating across Canada and the United States. Both logos feature certification codes, and these can be used on the website of their respective organisations to check the company's record of certification. Product certification is valid if there is a continuous and certified chain of custody, from the certified forest to the customers or their representative. The chain of certification has to be consistently in the same scheme. Certified PEFC wood with a PEFC chain of custody is valid. So is FSC wood with an FSC chain of custody. However, PEFC wood with an FSC chain of custody or certified FSC would with a PEFC chain of custody is not valid certification. If the supplier offers product certificates across the scheme, there is a problem. The schemes are similar but they don't match up and the chain cannot be verified. Companies or other organisations can offer other environmental assurances about their products. However, these need to be treated with care. Forest and chain of custody certification schemes are audited by a third party. Other claims are often only supported by the first party or second party support.
Okay, first party certification is when a manufacturer says I do a great job and with no independent checking. Second party certification would be where a manufacturer contracts a related company, someone who they deal with or someone they've got a close relationship with, to come and say that company does a great job. Third party certification is when there's some accredited organisation completely outside the control of the particular organisation. Normally they're accredited by a government body, for example, and they come in as an independent expert and invalidate those claims.
If your supplier offers you a letter saying something about the timber, that it meets to some standard, it's got a random number in there, it really doesn't mean anything. What you need to look for is those numbers associated with those forestry schemes, AFS, FSC, and make sure that it's got the chain of custody where possible, and you're looking for that specific number that you can then go to those organisations and double check that what you're paying for is what you're getting.
In summary, certification can assure customers that the forests are managed to an agreed standard and supplied products come from these forests. Forest and chain of custody certification schemes are not quality control processes, not voluntary. They are not legally required. Two schemes operate internationally and in Australia: Forest Stewardship Council FSC certification and the Program for Endorsement of Forest Certification PEFC scheme. PEFC works with national schemes such as AFS and SFI. Companies with chain of custody certification can stamp their products with the scheme logo and a code for their certification. The status of their certification can be confirmed on the scheme's website. The certification chain has to be a single scheme, and always treat other forms of environmental assurances with care.